Deputy in Riordain.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for allowing me into the committee just to make a few brief remarks, and thanks for all your presentations. I suppose the rationale behind the area-based approach is that if you look at sort of the international comparators, you look at the one I'm most familiar with in Western Bartonshire in Glasgow, is that when they found an individualised problem with literacy levels amongst children, they were able to find a localised solution. They weren't waiting for, the national government to churn a policy out eventually in order to find that localised solution. But I suppose a few things I want to talk about and maybe get your reaction to is a value shift that maybe we have to have in national policy. There's language that's used in different jurisdictions like moving towards the total eradication of illiteracy. We talk about tackling educational disadvantage. Do we need to start being much more ambitious? Do we need to start using terminology that depicts child poverty as a disease that has to be eradicated? Or are we too comfortable as where we are? Because it is a crisis. I think what you're managing is a crisis of underachievement, of disconnection, of disempowerment, of poverty. I think having the statistics, a lot of stuff, unfortunately, when you're dealing with areas of children and you're dealing with projects to deal with children and trying to dig deep into preventive approaches, is that there can be an awful lot of fluff. And myself and Mark would have worked quite closely together in Sheriff Street over a long number of years, and we had the misfortune of dealing quite closely with the Dublin Docklands Development Authority, and we learned very, very quickly that the value of taking a photograph of an impoverished-looking child behind a laptop. You take a photograph of something, and it looks like you're doing something. What's harder is to have a long-term strategy that can actually dig deep into empowering that child to find a way out of that, and empower that family to find a way out of it. And so it's actually having evidence-based approach to stuff. We've spoken before about the Hart and Risley report about the differential between the oral language skills of a 3-year-old and professional family versus a welfare family. We've talked about maternal depression and what a huge crisis that is in certain areas of the country, and the isolation. We've talked about in one of the projects, I won't name which one, talk about the percentage of infant children who are deciding their own bedtime. I mean, these are really crucial areas that I don't think I've made it into the mainstream discussions of what really are impacting on children. So, just on the services, and I think what is really important, and I think Kira makes a very, very good point, we can't depend on the goodwill of an inspirational person. I know a huge amount of communities are depending on the goodwill of an inspirational person, but the state has to step up to the mark. The state can't. The state has been allowed off the hook by those people who are willing to go the extra mile in their own communities, but that's not good enough anymore. There's far too many services that know the boundaries of their responsibility and are very, very keen to stress the boundaries of their responsibility. HSE, education, the housing authorities, the estate management of their various different communities, and none of these agencies seem to have a mechanism for talking to each other. And I am taken with Mark's suggestion about the czar, the person who might actually be able to knock heads together and start delivering benefits for children. Parental empowerment is absolutely key. The last thing I would ask is about how do you map this over a prolonged period of time, because there can be early intervention strategies that show great results in the 50 or 60 year of a child's life. How do you maintain that over a prolonged period of time when a child begins to plateau out in age 10 in primary school, when they can't really move to the extra level of literacy that they need to do to tackle second level education? And do we need a 20, 30-year strategy for tackling child poverty? Is there something that the political system needs to do collectively? Say, something? Party politics is one thing, but child poverty is far too important for us to play politics with it, and it can't change every 5 years with a change of government. Do we need to have a 2040 plan for eradicating child poverty that we all can buy into? I'd be interested to hear your viewpoints on that. Thanks.
And before I bring in Deputy Troy, could I ask the Vice Chairman and Deputy Committee to take the chair, please?
Yeah.